Imagine walking into a town where everyone you know has vanished without a trace. The houses are dismantled, the belongings are gone, and the only clue left behind is a single cryptic word carved into a wooden post: Croatoan. In 1590, an English captain stepped onto the shores of Roanoke Island, expecting to be greeted by over 100 thriving colonists, including his own daughter and granddaughter. Instead, he found a ghost town swallowed by the wilderness. No bodies, no signs of a struggle, no graves, just an empty fort and a bone-chilling riddle that has baffled historians, scientists, and treasure hunters for nearly 5 centuries. What happened to the lost colony of Roanoke? Where did an entire civilization disappear to? This is the mystery of America's oldest and most haunting unsolved puzzle. Our story begins in the late 16th century, an era defined by global exploration and a fierce rivalry between Spain and England. Queen Elizabeth I was eager to establish a permanent English foothold in the New World to counter Spanish dominance. The task was entrusted to Sir Walter Raleigh, a wealthy explorer and courtier. After a few failed military expeditions to the Outer Banks of North Carolina, Raleigh decided to try a different approach. He wanted to establish an actual agricultural community. He gathered a group of 115 ordinary citizens, men, women, and children, who were willing to risk everything for a new life across the Atlantic. To lead this brave new colony, Raleigh chose John White, a talented artist and mapmaker who had visited the region on a previous expedition. In May 1587, 3 ships set sail from England, carrying the hopes of a nation and the futures of these brave settlers. Among the passengers was John White's pregnant daughter, Eleanor Dare, and her husband, Ananias. The journey was long and perilous, plagued by harsh Atlantic storms and tense relations with the ship's navigator, Simon Fernandez, who was eager to drop the colonists off and return to privateering against Spanish treasure ships. The original plan was to settle in the Chesapeake Bay area, which offered better harbors. However, when they stopped at Roanoke Island in July to check on a small military detachment left behind from a previous voyage, Fernandez refused to let the colonists back on the ships. He forced them to stay on Roanoke. To their horror, the colonists found that the military outpost was destroyed and the bones of one soldier were found scattered on the beach, a grim warning of the dangers that lay ahead. With no choice but to make Roanoke their home, the settlers began repairing the old fort and building new houses. Amidst the tension and hard work, a moment of pure joy occurred on August 18, 1587. Eleanor Dare gave birth to a healthy baby girl. They named her Virginia Dare, celebrating her status as the very first English child born in the New World. For a brief moment, the future of Roanoke looked bright, but reality quickly set in. The colony was running desperately low on food, tools, and basic supplies. Worse, their relations with the local Native American tribes were severely strained. While one tribe, the Croatoan on nearby Hatteras Island, was friendly, other tribes were deeply hostile due to past conflicts with English soldiers. After a colonist was killed while gathering crabs alone on the beach, the settlers realized they were in a desperate situation. They begged their governor, John White, to sail back to England with the returning ships to secure emergency supplies and reinforcements. White was deeply reluctant to leave his family in the vulnerable colony, but he eventually agreed, promising to return within a year. When John White arrived in England in late 1587, he found his homeland on the brink of war. The Spanish Armada, a massive fleet of warships, was preparing to invade England. Queen Elizabeth ordered every available English vessel into military service to defend the nation. John White's desperate pleas for relief for Roanoke were ignored. For 3 long years, White was trapped in England, unable to secure a ship to cross the Atlantic. He could only wonder if his daughter His son-in-law and his little granddaughter Virginia Dare were surviving the harsh winters and hostile environment of the New World. Finally, in the spring of 1590, after the defeat of the Spanish Armada, White managed to secure passage on a privateering expedition heading to the West Indies. It wasn't until August 18, 1590, ironically on her granddaughter Virginia Dare's 3rd birthday, that John White finally anchored off the coast of Roanoke Island. As the rescue boats approached the shore, White's heart pounded with excitement and dread. They saw smoke rising from the island, a sign of life. The men blew trumpets and sang English songs across the water, hoping to hear a familiar voice call back out of the woods. There was only silence. When White and his men stepped ashore, the smoke they had seen turned out to be a false hope. It was just a smoldering forest fire. They climbed up the bank toward the settlement, and what they saw chilled them to the bone. The entire colony was completely deserted. The houses were carefully taken down, not burned or smashed. The entire area was enclosed by a high palisade of heavy trees, turning it into a fort. It looked like the settlers had packed up their things and left voluntarily, rather than being attacked. Before White had left for England 3 years prior, he had made a secret agreement with the colonists. If they were forced to leave the island due to danger or distress, they were to carve the name of their new location on a tree or a post. Crucially, if they were in danger, they were to carve a Maltese cross above the name. White searched the perimeter of the fort. On one of the main wooden posts at the entrance, he found the word Croatoan carved into the wood in clear capital letters. On another tree near the shore, the letters CRO were etched. White inspected the carvings with trembling hands. There was no Maltese cross. There was no sign of distress. White felt a wave of relief. Croatoan was the name of the nearby island, today known as Hatteras Island, where the friendly Native American chief Manteo and his tribe lived. White assumed his family had simply moved to live with their allies to escape starvation or hostility on Roanoke. He wanted to sail to Croatoan Island immediately to search for them, but fate intervened once again. A massive storm began to brew, damaging the ships and threatening to drive them into the dangerous shallow waters of the Outer Banks. The ship's captain lost several anchors and faced a shortage of fresh drinking water. Dejected and exhausted, the crew refused to go any further. They forced White to abandon the search and return to England. John White never found the funds or the opportunity to return to the New World again. He died, a broken man, never knowing what became of his family. For centuries, the fate of the lost colony has remained one of history's greatest detective stories, spawning countless theories ranging from the logical to the supernatural. The most popular and historically supported theory is that the colonists simply integrated with the local Native American populations. Facing starvation and realizing that John White might never return, they likely moved to Croatoan Island or further inland into the mainland of North Carolina. Over the generations, they would have married into the tribes, adapting to their way of life. This theory is supported by later accounts from European explorers who visited the region in the 17th and 18th centuries. They reported meeting Native Americans with gray eyes, light hair, and an unusual ability to speak and understand English. Some tribes even claimed ancestry from white people who could read from books. However, more violent theories exist. Some historians believe the colonists attempted to sail back to England on their own in a small boat and were swallowed by the treacherous waters of the Atlantic, known as the Graveyard of the Atlantic. Others suggest they moved north toward the Chesapeake Bay as originally planned, but were massacred by Chief Powhatan, the powerful leader of the Powhatan Confederacy, who later claimed to Captain John Smith of Jamestown that he had killed the Roanoke settlers to prevent them from aligning with rival tribes. In recent years, archaeology has breathed new life into the mystery. In 2012, researchers examining John White's original 1585 map discovered a hidden symbol under a patched piece of paper, a red and blue cross marking a location about 60 miles west of Roanoke.
Digging at this site, known as Site X, archaeologists unearthed fragments of English pottery, metal tools, and glass identical to items used by the Roanoke colonists. This suggests that at least a small group of the settlers may have moved inland and set up a new outpost. Yet, despite modern technology, DNA testing, and satellite imagery, no definitive proof has ever been found linking these artifacts directly to Eleanor Dare or Little Virginia Dare. The forest has kept its secrets well. The names carved into the wood have long since rotted away, leaving us to wonder about the final moments of those 115 souls. Did they find peace and safety among the native people, or did they meet a dark, forgotten end in the shadows of American wilderness? The archives of Roanoke remain open, buried deep beneath the sand and the roots of North Carolina. Forever,